So hello everyone, I can actually update this video a bit quicker than I was intending because the parts that I'm going to replace have arrived a bit early, so I got a delivery. I got a filler bottle, thought that would be useful. This is a vertical mounting bracket for the pump. I bought EK parts because it seemed like the sensible option. And here's the pump itself, which looks kind of big actually. So I'm not entirely sure how this is going to work exactly. So one option is that the pump sort of goes down here somewhere and maybe just sits on the floor, and I've got a load of zip ties, so I'm going to cable manage this a bit better. Another option is that it might actually, with that mount, go on the fan here. Depends how much clearance I need for the GPU, so that's one possibility. Or the last option that I've been kind of considering for fun is to mount it on the back as a sort of steampunk pump thing coming out the back. So that would be something like this, kind of. Which would look kind of ridiculous, but it might be quite fun. And this case has old school external tubing holes here, which in a way might be quite fun to use. So I'm going to explore those different options to see which one's the best. So I'll open all of these up, try a few ideas, and then tidy it up a bit and see how we get on. I'm not going to record the whole thing because that'll be a bit of a faff, so I shall be back shortly. Okay, so I've got the stuff out of the box. Apologies if you're a fan of unboxings, I haven't really bothered with that. But anyway, so this is the vertical mount for the pump and the reservoir. So I could put that there, and it might just get past that graphics card. So yeah, there in front of that fan that I replaced. Would block the fan a bit, but don't know if that matters too much. The other option, which I kind of like the idea of, it might look silly, is to sort of put it on the back here, take that grill off, and then the pump would sort of sit sort of here off the back of the system, which it's got a kind of, yeah, like I said, a sort of steampunk appeal. Yeah, not sure which to go for really. Yeah, I think what I'll do is I'll assemble the pump and then kind of try it out. See if it fits there for a start, because it might not get past the graphics card. It's a bit hard to tell with all the cables in the way. And then I'll drain the loop as it is and start swapping things around. Okay, so I've got the pump on the mount, and it will fit past the graphics card. Or will it? Or it's so tight. I think it would. It would be close, but it would go. But would it look cooler up there? That's the question. I don't know. Yeah. I might mount it up there and have a look at it and see what I think. One advantage of having it up there is that this motherboard's on a tray, so it would go out of the back on the tray. Although I'd still have to disconnect the radiators, so maybe that's not really. Yeah, not sure. Well, you'll find out which one I decide to shortly. So I went with the conventional layout in the end. So the pump is there, mounted on that. Light issues. Mounted on the fan there, so it does block that fan a bit, which is a shame, but I guess that it'll be okay. I don't think it will have an enormous impact, but obviously a little bit maybe. There's still 3 exhaust fans, so there's one at the back there and then 2 at the top, and there's plenty of places for air to get in the case. So the other thing I did was tidy up a bit, although not completed that job yet, and I've got my emptying port at the bottom there to drain it, drain port. So I'll do a bit more cable management. Moved the dryers round at the top so that I still have a Blu-ray drive in this machine, and then so I use it to rip Blu-rays sometimes, and then my removable SSDs there as well. So it came back together pretty simply. I haven't tested it for leaks yet, but I'll do that for a little while before I power it up. Don't think I'll have any problems because most of the connections are the ones that were before, and I've got those tube grips on some of them as well, so I don't think they'll come free. So yeah, it went together okay. I think there's enough clearance from here between those connections there and the side of the case that the tubes won't kink, but I could think about some right angle joints at some point maybe. So yeah, I'm quite pleased with how it's come back together again actually. Looks pretty neat. So yeah, a little bit more cable management. I won't do too much of that because I never do. I plugged the RGB in for a laugh. There's no side windows in the panels on this case, so it'll just have an eerie glow coming out of the top and the back a little bit, but that's fine. And I probably won't install the RGB software to change it, so it'll be rainbows. So yeah, all done. So hopefully it'll work. I will post a little bit on the end of this video about temps and whether or not it does actually function. I hope so. Okay, so I'll see you in a minute. So I figured, while I was kind of on a quest to make this system as quiet as possible, I'd have a look at my Bay converter. So actually I've already taken it to pieces. So this is what I put SSDs in for video editing basically. So it's currently got 2 in. The idea is that it's a striped BTRFS RAID array, so I can just add extra capacity when I need it, and then it's backed up on a daily basis. So if one drive failed, I wouldn't necessarily lose too much actual work, and then, well, that's the theory at least, so I could just replace the drive and rebuild it and then restore from the backup. But I figured these fans are quite old, so there's 2 40mm by 20mm fans in here, and they could be contributing to the noise the system makes. Now I could unplug them. I don't know if there's an alarm here that if I unplugged them would go off, or I could unplug one and then just put both drives at one side for now, or I could replace them with something. So I'm looking at Noctua 40mm fans that are silent. The only slight snag is that that's not a standard 3-pin type connector. Well, it is a standard connector, but it's not the connector that you would go onto a motherboard. So I'd have to probably fiddle around with that a little bit. But to be honest, the cable on a replacement fan would be way too long anyway. So that's what I might do now actually, is get some replacement fans. They look like they can be easily taken out. Put some Noctua low speed fans in there that'll be quieter, I would think, and then hopefully that would eliminate this as a potential noise source. Obviously it'll make a little bit of noise, but not very much. These cases are quite handy because it does allow you to eject drives and swap them around and stuff, and also obviously increases the capacity for 2.5-inch drives in your system. So yeah, I think while I'm at it, since I'm dismantling this computer anyway and fiddling around with it, I might as well replace these as well. Okay, I'll see you in the next section. So part of the quest to science this computer, I took the removable SSD bay apart, and I've replaced the fans in it. So the fans were pretty old anyway, and might have been kind of a source of some noise. So I got some Noctua 40mm fans, and then I had to splice the connectors on, and I included in there a resistor to spin these a lower RPM. So it should step them down to about 3,000 RPM from 5,000. So I'm hoping that reduces the noise that they would have made, but also with them being new fans, they should be in better condition. I had to hold them in with zip ties because the screws are smaller than the hole in the Noctua fans, so it wasn't holding them in place. And normal case fans wouldn't fit past the edge of the bay. But it should be okay, so I'm hoping that I soldered these well enough that they should be alright. And then just put some insulation tape around the spliced bits of wire. It's a reasonably neat job, and they're in there pretty stably, even though they're zip tied, so they won't vibrate. But they also, the Noctua fans have little rubberized pads, so that should dampen any vibrations. So yeah, I'm pretty much finished now. I can put this thing back together. The rest of the system is super quiet. I ran it without any fans in here, which, you know, that was a good test of how quiet it was, but I'd rather have a little bit of a fan going through here, and also it flashes the LEDs on the front red as an error code, so hopefully it won't do that anymore. So I'll put it all back together and see where we are. So here's the completed system. You can see the RGB going there. I'm running a Linux, so I don't think I can actually control that, but I might try and see if the BIOS can either set it to something or it'll just stay like that, which is fine. The case size on it won't be a problem. System's much quieter now. I've adjusted the fan curves a bit, so the top two fans there, they ramp with the CPU. The back fan ramps with the MOSFET temperature. There's the removable drive with its Noctuas in, that's a lot quieter. And then this fan down here ramps with just general system temperature. Obviously that's a little bit obstructed now, but it's not too bad, I don't think. I think there'll still be some airflow through from there. So that's it, vast improvement. Oh yeah, the last fan down there, that's on system temperature as well. Yeah, I'm very pleased. The background noise in here is actually also two systems they're on, because the one behind it is switched on as well. So it's not completely silent, which I don't think it was ever going to be. I could probably tweak the fan curves a bit more to make it quieter, but I'm happy with it how it is. So it doesn't get too loud under full load. So I'll call this a success. It's taken a little while, especially getting the Noctuas in there that needed the connector splicing on, but yeah, all good. So yeah, anyway, worth spending some time on, and it should be set now. Plan and keep this computer for at least a few years as it is. Don't really need to upgrade it anyway. So yeah, hopefully you found this interesting, and I will see you in the next video. So the audio might be a bit jank on this bit because I'm not using the mic. I just made one quick change to this because I didn't like the way the tubes touched the side panel of the case. So I got some right angle fittings there, and it's it looks much neater as well, and there's no problem with the tubes bending. I was a bit worried they might kink if I wasn't careful. So yeah, that's much better. So all set, and much quieter, and generally looks a bit cooler as well, I guess. I've managed to set the RGB to not rainbow, which is good. So I'm going to call this finished. Took a bit of faffing around, but got there in the end.